were trying to explain like why racism was the way it was watching the Rodney King beating, right? Difficult to explain, right? I said if I knew that, I'd have tenure tomorrow. I'd write a book called Racism, all figured out, right? I'd make $1 billion. So, you know, we still try to tackle it, we still wrestle with these ideas, like philosophy. It's never ending, you know, questions, but they still ask the same questions. You know, what is it to be? What is to be human? I think, therefore I am. You know, people talk about this for hundreds of years, even though they really never came with a concrete definitive answer, and people disagree constantly, right? But that's what we do here. But it still seems to be a response to this overarching relationship, this power dynamic, this definition and wrestling for self-definition. So today, I just want to draw back the lens a little bit, because I know that there are points where people say, you know, F them. I'm going to do me, right? I'm going to get my money, or I'm going to just move out the hood, you know. Like, an attempt to escape it, right? Some people try to escape it through academic endeavors. Some people escape it through redefined identities, right? They're biracial, you know, they're queer, they're the new black, they're a black Republican. They're everything but black, right? They're Afro-Cuban, they got a million of them, right? They're everything but they ain't it, right? Nobody's black. Dilemma. And it seems like people go through these phases. Like Tupac said, eventually he wanted to be an ambassador, eventually he wanted to get engaged in the political process, right? But there was a moment, there was a period, it felt like period, where he was like, F this.
Right.
F all of this. So it made sense. Like when you were saying that last time, I was like, yeah. That sound like me. A little while back, man, I was like, you know, I don't think about teaching no class deconstructing this. I was like, yo, I'm going to do me regardless. I'm going to be alright. But then as I drew the lens back and saw the international scope of this oppression, I was like, well, me doing me ain't doing too much for the large picture, as Lloyd Lux would say, right? Because I could do me. I could have did me a long time ago, right? I could have did me 2, 3 degrees ago, right? But doing me don't change it, right? Like, doing me. I'm living somewhere away from everybody. I can put a gate around my house. Well, Trayvon Martin's dad lived in gated communities, so that's not even. But you can try your best, you know, to get away, be a novelty, be the only one, right? That could be done, but that doesn't change the larger superstructure of international oppression and white supremacy. So I said that's a phase that I guess a lot of people go through. A lot of people say, well, I'm the I don't need them, right? But then for some reason, people who are older are having discussions about trillions in reparations, engaging in political processes, writing policy like John Connor's reparations bill, things like that. So there must be this natural progression, and I'm going to try today to help some people skip some steps. Right? Skip the step where you have to get disenfranchised. Skip the step where you have to get so emotionally drained that you don't want to confront truth, or that you spin out of control, or don't want to participate in the process whatsoever, and you become a complete rebel. Skip the step where you flee from the truth to the degree where you just go in denial. You take this class, you just run to your job, and you just be like, yo, my check is coming, and I'll just get some tax-deductible charity type thing going on, and I'll feel good about myself. I'll give 10 cents a day to some actor with a bubble, you know, stomach in Africa with the flies flying around in the commercial with the Arms of an Angel song playing. I don't know. Like, we're not doing that. That's not what we're here to try to do. I'm not trying to, you know, make that kind of student, scholar, activist. Because what's the goal of a teacher? No? Nobody ever heard that before?
To teach people how to think.
Yeah, I mean, let's go education, solve problems. I know you talk about that. Well, what's the goal of a teacher, though? What am I here to do?
It's also to
I'll give you a hint. I have a finite time in this space on this level, right? The reality of mortality, factor that into the equation. That's just your clue. I'm not going to be here forever. What's my goal?
Pass your knowledge on.
Train your replacement, man. That's the goal. That's what teachers do. That's what parents do, right? Parents have a kid, right? Your mom and dad know they're not going to be forever. So they raise you up. They save money for you. They, you know, they make the road a certain way and give you certain understanding so you can prosper and do the same thing, right? Get to that point. You can have somebody and pass it on, right? It's a relay, man. Like people get, that's why people don't participate in class sometimes. They get the relationship, you know, confused on a fundamental level. They think something's happening, it's not happening, you know. They get to entertain me. Let me regurgitate something you say and get the fuck out of here. But that's not what's happening from this way, this way, this way, this way. I'm like, yo, somebody gotta take this the next way. Like, you know, I might not even be here next semester. I don't know. Like, somebody gotta pick up this mantle, whether they're doing it in engineering or whether they're doing it through, I don't know, artistic expression, whether they get involved in politics, whether they're teaching in the classroom, whether they're raising their own family. Somebody gotta take these conversations, you know, outside of these spaces. Let me relax, get my mind right to what I'm doing. Anybody heard this before? No, I probably not. So the goal today is to potentially present to you the most concise description of global white supremacy that you've ever received, at least in a college setting, right? And it's a low bar. It's a real low bar, because I don't think I've ever been in a class where we talked about that for the whole class, period. So, and I'm in African American studies. So. This is what we talked about last class, right? We're trying to figure it out. What's the problem? What the hell is going on? Why is it the way it is, man? Like, what's really good in the hood, right? So let's talk about some recent events. Who heard about Michigan, right? Just you?
What happened in Michigan?
Oh, let's find out.
So much stuff has
Officers
happened.
said they were protecting themselves, but this man says he thought he was going to die.
I mean, I'm getting the tense thing about it. I mean, you know, I'm going to watch the tape for them beating me because I get upset.
Tonight, in the Defenders exclusive, what led to this violent arrest in Inkster. Good evening, and thanks for joining us for Local 4 News at 11. The video is graphic and pretty tough to watch. 2 Inkster police officers make a traffic stop, and what happens next has led to a state investigation.
Were police really protecting themselves, or is it a simple case of brutality? Defender Kevin Dietz joins us from the Inkster Police Station with the video. Kevin.
We all know being a police officer is a difficult and dangerous job. It's also one that requires integrity and honesty. Tonight, a very disturbing video with 2 very different stories about what this video shows. Take a look. You're looking at police dash cam video, a traffic stop of 57-year-old Floyd Dent, who is driving his Cadillac in the city of Inkster. When he's pulled over by police, he opens his car door. The situation immediately escalates.
I remember last class, if you weren't here, we talked about self-defense, right? The importance of self-defense. You know, if people have a problem with you, then by all means you should take a certain stance. You should defend yourself, right? And I was thinking about situations like this. I said, well, at what point, if somebody's on go from the door, do you make that decision? Like, do you just jump out your car when the police stop you and defend yourself? You know what I mean? Like, it gets difficult. 'Cause I agree with you, because that's my stance, obviously. You know, I'm thinking, you know, Robert F. Williams, like, you should defend yourself. But when you have situations like this, when the overarching structure is designed in such a way where you don't even have the opportunity to make that decision.
Your own car get shot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, whether you defend yourself or just talking, people, and you saw that one with the truck with your ID. Like, I saw how fast this happened. I was like, well, we gotta address it on a more fundamental level. We gotta get to the root of this, because it can't just be people being bold, or like Tupac said, being strapped and being prepared to defend themselves. If you just have regular interaction and within, literally, it was like 2.5 seconds, the gun was drawn and he's gonna be on the floor in another second and a half.
And then turns violent.
They just dragging him.
Like, when would you have
According to
defended
police
yourself?
reports and court testimony, Inkster police officer Melendez puts Dent in a chokehold and then delivers 16 blows to his head. The second officer, Zielinski, struggles to handcuff Dent. A third officer, Kritzers, runs up and tasers Dent 3 times, twice in the stomach, once in the leg. Several Michigan State police officers respond as backup and are also on scene. Police say they were protecting themselves. Dent says he doesn't know why he was pulled over or why he was viciously beaten.
Next thing I know, he Officer Bronco took his gun, you know, talking about blowing my head off. Then he grabbed me out the car, you know, and started beating on me. You know, I just couldn't believe it.
Police say they first saw Dent's car through binoculars. They were watching an area known for drug dealing. They followed Dent's car and say he did not properly stop at a stop sign. They say when they turned on their overhead lights, Dent did not pull over immediately, and they believe he was fleeing the officers.
When overhead lights came on, I looked. I said, "Wow, what are they stopping me?"
Dent says he did not try and flee, and the video shows he drove at a consistent speed until pulling over across the street from the old police station.
I had pulled over and opened my car door and had my hands out.
When the car door opened, the police say they ordered Dent to put his hands up, but they could only see one of his hands. They say Dent yelled at the officers, "I'll kill you." The officers' microphones were either turned off or not working. There is no audio of the alleged threat. Greg Roll is Dent's attorney.
He has 6 responding vehicles, and now 1 officer is equipped with a microphone to take down this alleged threat.
On the ground, police say Dent refused to put his hands behind his back. Dent said he thought he was being choked to death and tried to pull the officer's arm from his throat. The officer says Dent bit him on the arm, and that's why he started punching. They say the 16 blows to the head, a kick to the arm, and 3 taser blasts were necessary to.
This makes me want to vomit.
I got confused. He did
It does.
like this.
Oh, I'm not
only
confused.
one hand.
I'm not confused
No,
at all.
he stuck his hands out the car like that. The cop said he's going to one hand.
Communism.
Snatched him.
What you gotta do is have both your hands in the wheel.
Yeah, communism.
That's why I stopped the video in the middle. Because we can talk about that all day. Where his hands were,
Right.
we know that by now, right? We passed that level, right? Dedicate. Who knows about the human zoos? No? Y'all didn't know that there are people in zoos?
Oh, yeah,
I know about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big deal. The invention of savages, human zoo.
Especially over in England.
Deep racism, forgotten history of the human zoo. A black African girl in a human zoo in Belgium in 1958. The white feeding her bananas like a monkey. And this Oda Banga, the pygmy story, and I'll do a minute or two of that.
100 years ago, long before television and mass tourism, there was only one way to see the world. Huge fairs were staged in every great city, bringing the world to the public. From Italian gondolas to African elephants. But it wasn't just animals and objects that were exhibited. Live human beings were put on display. These were human zoos. These exhibitions were not meant just as entertainments. They were masterminded by scientists and designed to demonstrate the superiority of the white race.
The average white man is stronger of limb, fleeter of foot, clearer of eye than the average yellow, or red, or black.
Human zoos taught the public that racism was scientific. This new science of race would inspire and feed the ideology of the Nazis, giving academic grounding to the 20th century's greatest atrocity. This is the story of the human zoos and their legacy, varied by history, until now. Almost nothing is known about the people who were put in human zoos, but one man's story can be pieced together. His name was Ota Benga. He was a pygmy from the Congo. Ota Benga would pass through the hands of 4 of America's leading scientists: the anthropologist William McGee, the zoologist William Temple Hornaday, and Madison Grant, America's greatest racist and the author of Hitler's favorite book.
So here we go. We talk about Rodney King. This is reaction to the OJ trial. Right? We're gonna put this all in context. Put TV on his chest. Now you would have thought they gave reparations, right?
Yep. Oh my God, I can't believe this. What's going on? I gotta handle things. What's going on in this country is murder. That's my boy.
But like,
That's
didn't-
good. Oh, look at these bugs.
Didn't OJ like not really even mess with black people like that?
But still, it was.
Hold on. We're gonna get to the end of it. Less than a minute. Give it like 50 seconds and then we can talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, first like.
Those movies might be like, you get killed.
See, the thing is, that's only relevant if you think we were cheering for OJ.
That's right.
Right.
No, that's right. It's cheering for something else.
Now, if you think we're cheering for OJ, OJ's allegiance and OJ's socializing, that matters.
Right.
Right.
But if you think we cheer for OJ,
I was cheering myself when I see.
why was whether you did it or not, why would somebody cheer? There's court cases every minute of every day.
Right.
There's people who are convicted of murders every day and freed from murders every day. If this wasn't a symbolic trial of something larger, why would anybody be crying? Why would anybody be cheering?
Right.
If that's the case, you'd be like, yo, somebody got charged with murder and got convicted?
Right.
Oh my God! Like, yo, he got off. Like, nobody does that. There's courts throughout the nation. There's thousands of trials every second.
You know what?
This is obviously about something other than a trial.
Right.
Like, that's to say the least. Tone low. You reveal corruption in the police department. Power to the people. Always one. Always one.
They take it personally.
They changed the whole time of the trial from a murder trial to a racial trial.
We don't know anybody, any woman who hasn't suffered some sort of abuse, physical abuse from a man, whether it's a husband or whatever. And it's just saying that's still not important. I mean, it was so obvious.
It's the biggest miscarriage of justice, and I'm ashamed to be an American right now because the guy is so guilty, it's disgusting.
You should be there.
I got you, right? That's what that is. Yes.
I have a question. So people don't know who killed his former wife?
Well, they were saying that he did it. They think he did it. But they didn't do it.
He was innocent, right?
He was found not guilty, but people think that he's still the one that committed the crime.
And there was the other guy killed.
And he committed the murder and got away with it.
So it's two, the wife and the guy who walked up.
Ron Goldman, yeah.
Right.
And
I got you next.
black people are happy because he got
Yes.
innocent.
No, black people are happy because for over 100 or
That's
200
right.
years,
And to
the same court system has been acquitting people, like we saw last class with Rodney King. And like the guy said, it's justice for the black and brown people. Now you can see that something's effed up.
Right.
Because the cheering, we thought, even in subsequent articles and reports, we're going to have a conversation now. Just like after Rodney King, after it's on tape, we could talk. And they're like, no, I'm still not guilty. We're like, damn, like we've been saying it for a long time, well now we can talk, right? Now you know how it feels, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Don't it feel crazy? The highest court in the land, and people are supposed to protect you, they doing you like this, isn't it? Don't you feel... Yeah. Because that is what justice is.
Right.
Justice is equity. Mod is balance.
Right.
So when you give the death penalty, when you cheer because somebody get locked up for 10 years, it's because they did something wrong, and now they're going to suffer. So let's not get it twisted that we all do the same thing on a different level. Because we all are like, when people say, when the first people get hurt, right, what do we say? We want justice. Don't you hear that from all the families? I just want justice. That means I want somebody else to feel what I feel. That's what justice always has been. So yes, the black people are cheering because for the first time in their lives, they see, from a court perspective, justice.
Yes.
They effed you like they effed me.
Right.
Yes!
That's true.
Because we've lived this for generations, man.
Black people are saying he's guilty, yeah.
No, nobody's guilty cheering.
Right.
That's like saying, hold up. Because I know people's outside electric slide when Obama got elected. You really think that all us black people that were dancing and cheering, we thought Obama was going to transform America single-handedly and get rid of racism?
No.
Like, you think that's it, really?
Not everybody.
I'm saying you really going to minimize,
That's right.
40 million plus people to some dogmatic nonsense, Messiah complex that he was going to get in there and magic wand the game and reverse time and everybody was going to be doing kumbaya. Like, what? No, that's not what celebrations are about. That's not what symbolism is about. Symbolism is about this thing representing something totally separate from what it is actually. That's why it's called a symbol. It's a symbol of justice. It's a symbol of equity. No, we don't know who did it. Nobody knows. I don't think anybody cared who did it.
I don't care.
There's so many people that did things, didn't do things, and what was on trial, like you said, he exposed corruption in the police department.
That's right.
And then he said, I feel for the families.
But it's too bad.
If you're in the Marines, do you feel for the families? Yes. Do you still bust your gun? Yes. If you're a police officer, somebody draws a gun on you, you shoot them down. Do you feel for that person's family? Yes.
No.
Oh, well.
I don't think cops have anything.
According to them, right? They don't say, yeah, I hope the family mourn and I'm going to come to the wake.
Right.
Shoot me casket. No. I'm saying, like, I'm sorry it had to happen. But, if I had to do it again on George Zimmerman and Dan Wilson, I did the same thing. But that's what they're cheering about. They're cheering because this effed up system is being exposed.
That's right.
So
And people who never saw it. Why dude said the first time he was ashamed of America? Why should we get into I showed you the damn human zoo.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
You're not ashamed to be American with the human zoo.
That's like
That's
the same
right.
thing. That's like what happened with the Casey Anthony thing. Like people were saying the same thing.
Like now, middle America now is a tragedy. That's Eminem told Eminem the lady said last week. That's what Eminem said. He's just going, middle America now is a tragedy. Now it's so sad to see another class city having this happening. All of a sudden, you got compassion. All of a sudden, you critically analyze. All of a sudden, you understand the travesty of American justice. Really? Really?
All of a sudden.
You never saw it? Let's go. That's why we're here. Worst. Right? This is Emmett Till. It's a magazine that J.W. was it Milan or Miller?
I think
right?
it's Milo.
Either way, that's him, right? This is them after they get acquitted, knowing they did it, right? Look like the OJ trial, don't it? Celebration time, come on, right? This is the magazine, Look magazine, that he gave the interview for after the trial, no double jeopardy, couldn't be tried again, in which he said, basically admitted what happened. That's what they tried to charge, other dude on later. I stood there in that shed and listened to that nigga throw that poison at me. Milo, you said? Milo told Look magazine in 1956. And I just made up my mind. Chicago boy, I said, I'm tired of sending your kind down here to stir up trouble. God damn you, I'm going to make an example of you. Just so everybody can know how me and my folks stand their ground. Oh, my bad. Stand there. Okay, so, the amount of things you must not be acknowledging to say something like this is the first time. Or now I'm ashamed to be American. Like, really, dude?
Now he's ashamed.
I showed you the 90s. I showed you the Bensonhurst, the Crown Heights. I showed you all the people getting killed, getting murdered. Do the right thing. Like it was turmoil. But now, matter of fact, that was what, 94? When was Rodney King? 92, 91.
That's right, 92.
But you mad now.
Right.
That's 2 years ago.
If you don't see the connection between the tragedy of Rodney King and people cheering for OJ, then you don't understand history or historical context. The same way if you don't understand OJ, 3 of his friends wearing wires, him getting some exorbitant sentence on the anniversary of his acquittal, then you don't understand historical context. We've been waiting for this one.
They got him.
That's right.
Just like right now with the Ferguson report and all that stuff that came out to shut up all these people who are defending racists.
That's right.
Wait till somebody do something dumb. They're gonna jump on it like never before. I was gonna say like white on rice, but that wouldn't apply. They're gonna jump on it. The next famous person, you wait. It's gonna get blown up bigger than usual because they've been waiting. They ain't been able to say nothing lately. But from the day we cheered, it was on and popping. When they said not guilty, you best believe people were like, oh no, not for long. If I'm a judge, and my cousin's a senator, and somebody else is a wealthy business, like we don't.
That's right.
That's why people don't riot. Martin Luther King said the riot is the language of the oppressed when they have nothing else to say.
Yes.
The language of the powerless. People with power don't riot. They conspire.
Right, that's true.
That's the difference. They form organizations. They form unions. They form clans. They form secret societies and fraternities that'll never sign with me. I'm saying that's what if you got power, that's what you do. So it's a difference. The moment they said not guilty, somebody was like, not for long.
We're gonna get him.
We're gonna get him. I told you history of slave patrols and all that.
That's right.
We've been getting niggas for 300 years. We're gonna get this nigga. We done got far faster niggas than OJ. Cut their feet off and everything King Coop. Let me stop. Send a message.
Claude Neal was the last spectacle lynching in the United States. Now, I know spectacle and lynching are words that really should not go together, but they did. What happened in 1934 was that Claude Neal was in a jail in Alabama. The lynch mob was incensed. They didn't want him going through the regular judicial system. Now understand that the regular judicial system in Alabama for African Americans was not a kind and gentle force. But a lesson needed to be made of Claude. And that lesson was going to be one of the most horrific acts of violence on American soil. Part of what you had with spectacle lynching was that, I know we have these ideas in our head about a lynching where there are one guy, 2 guys, they sold tickets. This was advertised in the churches. Special trains were in fact reserved, where you could get the special train ticket. It's almost like a cruise line kind of deal. It was a festival. It was an event. And yeah, I don't need an event where it's advertised, announced in church on Sunday. So, you know, we've got Minister so-and-so is going to be speaking here, and so-and-so is going to be having there. And oh, by the way, we're going to have a lynching down in Florida. We've got, you can get your special tickets in the back. They're only cost so much, and it's going to, you know, bring your kids, bring a picnic basket. It's going to be fabulous. Claude Neal gets yanked out of that jail in Alabama. He gets sent through a gauntlet of torture down into Florida, where the crowd that has bought their tickets and come in on their special trains and brought their picnic baskets are waiting for this incredible event. He is put up on a stand, stripped naked, and the crowd is going wild. He's being branded. I mean, you already see the blood. I mean, because he's gone through this gauntlet of torture. And then they began to just start cutting off his body parts. Part of the torture is they began to cut off his genitalia. They cut off one piece, stuff it in his mouth, and force him to eat it. And the crowd is like, yeah! And they cut off some more of his genitalia, stuff that in his mouth, and eat it. So you can imagine this man is standing there before the throng, bleeding, forced to eat his own flesh. And there is no sense of humanity anywhere in the air. Then they start cutting off his fingers and throwing them to the crowd like a souvenir. And the crowd is like, more, 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 more. And Claude is there bleeding to death, being branded with hot irons. And finally, after no more, then strung up. This is the spectacle lynching of Claude Neal. That was horrific enough. But what, in fact, makes it beyond egregious is then the response of the law enforcement officials. The NAACP immediately sent folks down to investigate this lynching. They went to Alabama and they said, Alabama's, there's no crime committed here because he wasn't killed here. So they went to the officials in Florida. Florida said, he's not from here. No crime committed because he's not from here. Now, I didn't realize that anywhere in the statute dealing with murder, it said you had to be from that space in order for that to be a murder. But the NAACP thought, we now have on the books the Lindbergh kidnapping law, based on the kidnapping of Charles Lindbergh's baby, that therefore makes it a crime, a federal crime, to take somebody and transport them against their will across state lines. So the NAACP goes to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover says, no crime committed here because nobody asked for a ransom.
These are first-hand accounts. She gave you historical context, but these are people that were there.
And all that day, they kept coming. By nightfall, there were 10 to 15,000 white
10 to 15,000 people.
For the blood of us 3 blacks.
Very tense.
He's the guy that got away. The guy that
among everybody. And you felt it all over town.
The sheriff had told the police not to shoot out there. There were women and children. And 4 big white men got some sledgehammers in their hands, and they started knocking on the cement blocks and throwing around the steel door that was the entrance to the jail.
And they come dragging one of the boys down out of the jail. They took him right down the sidewalk. Everybody was kicking, hitting him, and everything else. And there was a Model T Ford coupe that a woman was standing up there and just, they was all going crazy. And she jumped down. She had high heels. I seen this happen. And her high heels just scraped a hole, just like cut with a knife down his back. And they pulled him out and they drug him up there by a car. And they took him off of there, and hung him up on the maple tree.
And he reached up to get hold of the rope to keep from choking him. So they let him down and broke his arms. So he fell. And they pulled him up again as we went by.
So let's get to the why. Let's get to the why. Right? That's part of the why, of course, right? History challenges people's religious beliefs. We can leave that alone for another day.
America, who's African American, whose family's been here since 1550. These are not things that you're going to get handed to you on a platter. African. You're the original people on the planet Earth.
This is what we talked about last time. Frances Wilson. This is her Dottie
Why
back.
have we seen it for hundreds of years? So I thought about these two things, basically two facts. That even though the white population says that people of color are minorities, that it is the white population that is the minority on the planet.
That's the reality.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
That in spite of the fact that black people, non-white people have heard over and over again, you're genetically inferior because you are non-white. That in reality, white skin is a genetic recessive status, not as said by Frances Wilson. Meaning that if
you and I were adopted, the baby would have color, and you make the contribution, and I don't.
That white plus colored, well, wait a minute. It's not Frances Wilson that is concerned about the disappearance of white. Ben Wattenberg just wrote a book, The Birth Dearth. There have been multiple articles in the newspaper talking about the decline of Western populations.
Yeah, here's the Washington Post, just to name one. We are a depopulation bomb, the withering of the Western world. Here, incidentally, this was the percentage of the West's population in 1900, the turn of this century. About 30%. This is where we'll be less than 10% in the year 2075. Here's where we are about today, 15. So we're not having babies.
So whites are not having babies, and there is the concern about white genetic annihilation. In other words, I look at, this is Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday holiday. And people will say, well, here's a...
We talk about that, they keep mixing the wheat brown. You got that part, right? Mm-hmm.
Now it's time for my word. Do your duty. Make more babies. That's the lesson drawn out of two interesting stories over the last couple of days. First, a story yesterday that half of the kids in this country under 5 years old are minorities. By far the greatest number are Hispanic. Know what that means? 25 years and the majority population is Hispanic. Why is that? Well, Hispanics are having more kids and others, notably the ones Hispanics called gabachos, white people, are having fewer. Now in this country, European ancestry people, white people, are having kids at the rate that does sustain the population. It grows a bit. That compares to Europe, where the birth rate is in the negative zone. They're not having enough babies to sustain their population.
Well, we won't replace it. It's entirely possible that
I couldn't fit it in, but we're gonna do eugenics. I gotta go in there.
French.
There's a clip from it in the
traditional French population, what some call the demographic winter of Western societies.
For those of us who were raised to believe in the teachings of Thomas Malthus or Charles Darwin, for example, these trends are very hard to absorb.
The demographic winter is an old argument, basically that European white Christian West is not having enough babies to replace its old and it's dying. And that's kind of an old argument, but it's being repurposed now by an international coalition of religious right, hoping to restore something they call the natural family, which is the patriarchal family, the family where the mother stays at home and raises a large family of children.
Yeah, this is her theories in movies, basically. A couple of things.
The white ball dominates everything, right?
Take
out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table. Why is that? I don't know, but I'm sure you'll tell me, my brother. Sure you're right. Look, it's because of the white man's fear of the sexual potency of black balls. Now, not only was kind of interesting.
There's this psychiatrist, a lady named Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She has a theory about the black man in America. She says that because of the system of racism, the black man in this country has been made to think of himself as a baby, a not yet fully formed being who has not realized his full potential. To support her claim, she offers the following. First off, what does a black man call his woman? Mama. Secondly, what does a black man call his closest acquaintances? His boys. And finally, what does a black man call his place of residence? The crib.
Yeah, so we're talking about theories that can at least be tested in different racial situations. So we get some situations. Who's my man right there? You got no man.
Leonard.
Come on, there you go. Who? Come on.
The guy who killed Leopold, right? Leopold.
Yes.
Mass murder.
Yeah.
Chopping all the kids.
I got you. Here you go. I'll do it.
That was the same part.
In the 1880s and 90s, the world outside Africa wanted rubber for its new bicycle and car industries, and Leopold's Congo Free State had the world's largest supply of wild rubber. The king had struck gold, black gold. He was determined to get as much rubber to Europe as he could, and as fast as he could.
The rubber in this district has cost hundreds of lives. And the scenes I have witnessed while unable to help the oppressed have been almost enough to make me wish that I were dead.
Over a period of 20 years, Leopold turned the Congo into a vast labor camp 80 times the size of Belgium, in the process making himself into one of the richest men in the world.
Compared it to 25, 30 million people.
Well, I'm saying it's like
All right,
all cost to that.
Well, write this down, because the video's not working, but the book Medical Apartheid just talks about experimentation. It does a good timeline. Like, not just Tuskegee, but it starts you, we got a couple of clips, but definitely something to look into. All right, who's that? J. Marion Sims.
Oh, yeah.
Father of gynecology, right? First surgeon of ages and ministry to women treating alike empress and slave. That says next to his monument, but that's not the case. Between 1845 and 1849, in a makeshift hospital that he built in his backyard, Sims inaugurated a long, drawn-out series of excruciating experimental gynecological operations on countless enslaved African women. These are the guinea pigs, right? This was all done without the benefit of anesthesia, or before any type of antiseptic was used. Some have been created, though, partly through his research, or he could have at some point. Many lost their lives to infection. It is their story that history has failed to tell. So we got the father of anthropology with the scientific racism, we got the father of psychology with all this racist stuff from Hegel and Kant, and we got the father of gynecology with experimenting on black women, not even giving them anesthesia. Excruciating pain. One woman was experimented upon over 30 times, according to his own documentation. But it's the first time I'm afraid I shouldn't be American, because OJ got off. Like Hot 97. The infringement of black Americans' rights to their own bodies in the name of medical science continued throughout the 20th century. In 1945, I don't know how to say it, I don't want to butcher it up, an African-American trucker being treated for injury received an accident in Tennessee was surreptitiously placed without his consent in a radiation experiment sponsored by the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. Black Floridians were deliberately exposed to swarms of mosquitoes carrying yellow fever and other diseases in experiments conducted by the Army and the CIA in the 1950s. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, black inmates in Philadelphia's Holmberg prison were used as research subjects by University of Pennsylvania dermatologists testing pharmaceuticals and personal hygiene products. Some of these subjects report pain and disfiguration even now. During the 1960s and 70s, black boys were subjected to sometimes paralyzing neurosurgery by a University of Mississippi researcher who believed brain pathology to be the root of the children's supposed hyperactive behavior. In the 1990s, African American youths in New York were injected with phenylchloramine, half of the deadly discontinued weight loss drug fen-phen, by Columbia researchers investigating a hypothesis about the genetic origins of violence. Let's keep going. Right? I'm going to answer all the questions before you even ask, who's this? Who's this, though? Who's this?
Isn't that Roosevelt?
No. Come on, he's never Africa. You don't know the picture? That's Cecil Rhodes. You ever heard of Rhodes Scholar?
Yeah, the Rhodes Scholar.
Everybody want to be a Rhodes Scholar.
Oh, Rhodesian.
Right, he's the most racist.
He added great tracks of
He
that.
did. So basically, his name is Rhodes.
That's right.
So he just decided that he gonna call it Rhodesia.
Yeah, isn't that something?
You probably know, right? Zimbabwe,
Yeah,
right?
that's Zimbabwe, yeah.
So they showed a different clip where they were doing the 50th celebration. I don't know if I had that clip, but the funny part was in the celebration, they had all the natives singing at the celebration of the colonizing. And I was like, this is just like Columbus Day, where they have the black choir singing the national anthem with overweight black woman always gets on the float, the bootlegger Aretha Franklin, and she's like singing about the Holocaust of her own people. And she's like singing it with pride. I was like, wow, they sing about their own destruction, global system. You gotta understand it as a global system. Huh? Yeah, you gotta understand. Now the interesting thing is, Cecil Rhodes in 1888 founded a nice little company that a lot of us still support.
De Beers.
Cecil Rhodes founded De Beers.
That's right.
So when you're riding out, and I love the sexism, right? Think about it, the divorce costs more, right? It's some of that. Let me see if you can see it. You might think I'm making it up, right? If you're a frog, it turns you into a prince. You can buy love, right? They're not loyal. When a woman says she doesn't want anything, she's lying. You don't know what she really wants, right? That's like people say when people say no, right? Getting rid of headaches since 1888. Chivalry, right? Take a hip-hop break, man. Take a minute. Let's take a minute.
FNF, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's a lot.
I feel like I should just, show people other side that wonder where, you know what I'm saying, that are presently unaware, that don't know about it, you know what I'm saying? Just show them it's another side to this thing right here. Allow me to break down the game behind the bracelets, earrings, chains, watches, and rings. The blame, the crystal encrusted princess flooded, canary studded, blue colored and blood stained. Yeah, the older brother of the drug game, the giver of fame, the take away of a lane, the empowerer of the kings that came with claims and disease to leave where the native peoples sustain. Believe, my engagement ring, receiving floss at the cost of a bonded child minus pain. Long ago, kings used to wear them in their armor when they fought other armies because it used to scare them. If you wasn't rich, couldn't wear them. Witches used to marry them, they'd shoot you before they share them. The gift and the curse, the venom and the serum. Most hated lady's best friend get murked full clever. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Now I ain't coming down on nobody, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to judge nobody or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I floss too, I might go give me a pinky ring tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? But I just want you to see, man, you know what I'm saying? Just see, man. Cecil Rhodes sold war and genocide into the countryside just to get his shine on. I fear what the Beers and his peers used to do before the world really knew, just to get their mind on. Making paper with slave labor and hitting little kids with lifetime beards, making them cut and shine stones, inflating the price and making them look nice. And I wasn't thinking twice when I was putting mine on. About a young shorty in Sierra Leone or other conflict countries that people call home. I figured I would never go to Angola, so it never did affect me. And maybe indirectly that my necklace was funding a rebellion or a military coup started by militias that don't believe in following none of Geneva's rules. I was brushing off the haters, trying to be cool. Didn't have a clue that the rapper was helping the rapers, raiders of the villages, pillagers of the schools, shooters of the innocents, torturers of the witnesses, murders of the businesses, and my person was the few. I ain't pushing an agenda, homie, I'm just pushing the facts. Fuck push, cause it's people doing worse on this earth, and they black. I took it that year, now let me bring it back. We all know on foreign shores that they finance wars, but ask yourself, do they finance yours? When I first got mine, I took them out on tour. You know they lost half the value when I took them out the store.
Planned Parenthood since Margaret Sanger, famous eugenicist. Let's go.
Eugenic and civilization value of birth control is becoming apparent to the enlightened and the intelligent. The campaign for birth control is not merely of eugenic value, but is practically identical in ideal with the final aim of eugenics. Margaret Sanger, 1921.
That's Third Reich language, final aim.
In her autobiography, Margaret Sanger wrote about a speech she gave in 1926 at a Ku Klux Klan rally in Silver Lake, New Jersey. The Planned Parenthood founder bragged about the fact that afterward, she was invited by 12 other Klan chapters to speak at their events.
At about the same time, the American Birth Control League was changing its name to Planned Parenthood. A lot of books and reports began coming out that attempted to put a happy face on eugenics. And many of them were written by people that were associated with Planned Parenthood. The strategy here was obvious. Since the Nazis had turned eugenics into a four-letter word, the American eugenics movement decided it was time to lay low. So most of their writings during this time period downplayed the role of eugenics and couched their agenda in terms of helping the African American. Perhaps the best example of this is a 1,500-page book by eugenicist Gunnar Bergall called An American Dilemma, The Negro Problem in Modern Democracy.
Trying to help us.
Commonly, it is considered a great misfortune for America that Negro slaves were ever imported. The presence of Negroes in America today is usually considered a plight of the nation.
About an incredibly disturbing story that we've been following for months now. States in the United States refusing to compensate victims who were forcibly sterilized because they were deemed unfit to reproduce. It was part of a eugenics program operated in more than half the states in the 20th century in this country. Now, it sounds shocking. It's almost unbelievable, frankly, to imagine this, but it's the shameful truth. Tens of thousands of American citizens were sterilized without their consent.
How many?
Tens of thousands.
Right? So you can either choose to do it, or we'll act no matter what. I just thought of that. That's free. I'm not playing with nobody, killing my kids. Kill the babies, man. That's what ODB said. Wu-Tang is for the babies. Let's go to money. Let's go to money.
I see this.
Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
No, you're coming to hold hands. You're coming to get our check. No, you're coming to sing your spirituals. Coming to get our check.
Yes, sir.
No, you're coming to get a holiday. Coming to get our check. Okay. I heard it from his mouth, so I don't care what they paint lockers and all that service they doing. Right? And this has a lot to do with it, right? We talked about that last class. Same people that, getting the money, be like, you got a scholarship because you're black. Then you got a school and a country and a continent because you're not. Let's play. We already did some of this, right? We're talking about CONTELPRO, Mississippi Sovereign Commission, right? With all the spies, right? Agent provocateurs, Fred Hampton, all that, political imprisonment. We'll be to the Tulu, mass incarceration, we talked about Michelle Alexander. Political assassination, we talked about Fred Hampton, documentary, political exile, Sada Shakur. Can't cover everything. Some of it just got to shout them out. There's a lot to cover. Dark End of the Street. This is a book, I write this one down, right? It's right, the title and the author. Black Women, Rape, and Resistance, right? The history of the civil rights movement. Talk about how black women couldn't even accuse anybody of rape for so long, and just history of sexual violence. Daniel L. McGuire, right? Scottsboro Boys, who knows about that one? That's it?
More than 80 years after these young black men were convicted of raping 2 white women, the names of the Scottsboro Boys are finally being cleared.
Scottsboro is known for this all over the world. 83 years, some people ask me, why did I want to bring up a case that's this old? I said, because it's left undone. It's hanging in the balance of justice.
You sing songs.
Please welcome the company of the Scottsboro Boys.
What story are we going to tell tonight?
We're going to tell the story of the Scottsboro Boys.
I can't.
I can't.
Right.
Yes,
Well, I can't. You get it. You get it. Yes. There's a lot of pieces to this. You gotta do the arts, you gotta do economics, you gotta do, production, you gotta do religion. There's a lot of pieces to this now. So when you posit Tupac in that, the money, the counterintelligence, the nightmare that they're having, right? So you look at it a little different. I'm just trying to draw the lens back a little bit. So when we zoom back in on Tupac, you be like, oh, okay, I see why people want to make certain type of songs and not talk about certain type of subjects. But even when the subject is part of the song, they find a way. Oh, we got like 2 more weeks. You gotta get the kids, right? You gotta get the kids.
Welcome to Atlantis way, up or down, up the disco always yellow, rain or shine. Come to Tasmania, come to Tasmania. Toffee needs
Who saw this before? Speaking of Bonics, who saw it before? Who knows the story of Tasmanians? Just 2 people?
Wait a minute, isn't the Warner Brothers cartoon updated?
The Aborigines were deemed to be subhuman, little more than animals, which was to justify not only the theft of their land, but their extermination. An edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, still in circulation when I was at school, described them as only an animal of prey, more ferocious than the leopard or the hyena. He devours his own species. So they were hunted and raped and massacred. And few doubted at the time that genocide was official policy. A government report in the 1850s spoke of the success of poisoning Aborigines, 100 of them laid out at a time. But until quite recently, little of this was even acknowledged. In Tasmania, the Aborigines were said to have died out. In fact, they were hunted along with kangaroos and almost wiped out.
Then they spin around and give you the Tasmanian devil. Killed them all. But OJ got off, y'all. OJ got off, though. Don't that make you mad? Play with me. What do you say? Y'all don't want it with Hov. Let's do this one. Last question. Last question for the class for the day. What do these things have in common? We got the gators, and we got the candy. It's like this is a trick question. I don't expect you to really know. I'm gonna teach you the connection. So when you see this in the store, or when you see this at the game, you can be like, right? Because this is the swamp. Okay, here we go. Alligator bait. Alligator hunting was very profitable in the 1800s and 1900s. The skins were used to make shoes, bags, belts, and other items. However, white hunters often lost their arms and sometimes their lives as they rustled the swampy waters at night, intending to attract alligators to the surface. So they decided to use slave babies as bait. This horrendous act was later characterized in sheet music, postcards, and figurines. I know somebody thinking, no, I don't believe it, so there you go. Years later, candy manufacturer Black Licorice Drops created a distasteful advertisement that featured a hungry-looking alligator leering at a bug-eyed black baby. The ad read, "A dainty little morsel." For decades, the popular candy was referred to as nigger babies. The name was later changed to nibs. Watch what you wear, watch what you eat, watch what you watch. This is a lot. I know it's not easy. But I ain't buying no nibs. I ain't buying no nibs. I'll be buying nibs. Let's end it with some postcards. Drop in. A hearty welcome awaits you in Florida. Right? This says, greetings from the sunny south. A watermelon feast.
That's when the baby gets
another baby, right? Right? Haha, ain't that cute? I want to buy one of those postcards. A darkie's prayer. Oh Lord, please deliver me from these gators that got hold of me. If I only had the chance, I'd give them my pants. If they only let the rest of me be. Ha ha ha. I didn't own slaves. The Florida Gator. Have you met the Florida Gator? He is the champion Negro hater. Although he finds many things to eat, his favorite morsel, a Negro treat. Here's a postcard. Buy in the store, send it to your family. Had a great time on vacation, come back next. Right? So we talk about the culture. So when you see somebody who will do this, and joke about this, and give the cartoons with genocide, then you're getting beat up. It almost pales, no pun intended, pales in comparison. Like, you're getting your ass beat, you got off light, man. They done wiped out tens of millions of people and joked and laughed about it, made cartoons and postcards. Not more slides, but I just want you to get a better understanding of what we're talking about. Because when you see this parallel universe that we're talking at the beginning of class, this OJ thing, it's a parallel universe because it's a parallel universe. This ain't about perception and who don't know. People are having completely different experiences. with this experiment called America. So when you talk about Ellis Island experience, coming over able to get alone as opposed to coming over and getting raped and your kids get taken from you, these are very divergent experiences. So there is no logical reason why people should feel the same way about this experience or this place or this political system. It saved you, it made you, it undergirded you with wealth, it protected you, it went to war for you, and like Malcolm said, landed on us. So if we at least start there, we can have an honest dialogue and have an attempt to make some sincere progress. But if we keep pretending that if we just be nice,